under the federal constitution, it says that we are guaranteed freedom, and then there should not be any discrimination on the basis of gender, age, sex, and so on, religion, race. So, in the federal constitution, it says that there is no discrimination. It doesn't mean that everybody follows it. And the problem with Malaysia is that there is no law to protect the LGBT individuals. Not that there is anything, So under the civil law, the problem is that although it states that we have not been enforced, people like women have been asking, they have been discriminated because they're women, and then LGBT is saying that they're discriminated in their employment because of their sexuality or their gender identity. And when we file a report, no action has been taken. So it's also part of the enforcement of it. So the other side is the Sharia law. And under the Sharia law, there are clauses that discriminate against people, specifically trans people, because of the law that says that you cannot dressing up as the opposite sex is a crime that's punishable by 1,000 ringgit and a couple of months in jail. So that has been very actively enforced, and it's caused a lot of fear and many employers, because they want to avoid trouble with so-called authorities, so they avoid having employees that are going against the law. In my opinion, is that the employer should not even have a problem with an individual with diverse sexual orientation or gender identity. It doesn't matter. I want to give an example. Is the company that I work with, Boomzap. Boomzap is an international game developer, casual game developer that's based in Southeast Asia, and we make lots of games. We ship them, and then Big Fish is our publisher, and we have a whole market of gamers in the US. And Boomzap practices the policy of work-based employment. So, at the end of the day, when you're talking about work and employment, it's about whether or not you can perform. And with Boomzap, they don't care about their sexual orientation or their gender identity, and we have been able to create high-class, world-class products that are great. And there's never been any discrimination in the company. So what I'm saying is that the employers in Malaysia should think twice to think that, having LGBT individuals will worsen the company. It does not happen. Yeah. And the other thing is about whether they can sue. They can try.
Okay.
But I am pessimistic about the situation in Malaysia, only because they try to protect the employers. We see a lot of trans people being sex workers,
Yes.
right? What we don't see is a lot of transsexuals that are working in the normal day-to-day 9-to-5 jobs. And there are a lot of transsexuals working in 9-to-5 jobs, just that we don't see them and they're not out. Partly, I guess, because of the situation in Malaysia, it's hostile. They don't want people to know that they are transsexuals. They try to keep it low-key, so that's one. And for people who are sex workers, we have to also consider the situation. A lot of them are being chased out of the house at an early age. Say, they came out to their parents when they were young, before they finished their studies, and they said, Dad, I'm transsexual. The dad kicks them out of the house, so they don't finish their education. And in Malaysia, without an SPM cert, you practically cannot get any jobs. So the jobs that you could ask for are, I don't know, promoters, laboring, hard labor jobs, and those kind of low-level jobs. We see in studies is that the lower the level of the job is, there is more discrimination involved, especially physical discrimination like violence and, you know, life-threatening verbal abuse and things like that. So one, it stops the trans people from actually applying for a job because of the hostile situation. Number two, they are not qualified educationally. They do not have the capacity to do any other jobs. You know, they can't do finance, they can't do accounting because they don't know how to. So you cannot blame them that they have to resort to the things that they know, which is using their body. You know, so there is multiple parts to it. It's also one, the employers should be very more active in hiring trans people, but there is also a part where the education has to come in and educate the younger generation of trans people so that they get out of this cycle. Yes, because LGBT people they pay taxes too.
Yes.
LGBT people they are like everybody else. They are highly creative, highly productive, you know. We are just great people. So if you are trying to discriminate them and pushing them aside, then you're losing out on their unique perspective on everything else. You're pushing aside the skills that they have. And it's just going to be the loss for the employer. And the loss for the LGBT people who is jobless, basically. So it's a lose-lose situation. Why can't LGBT people contribute to society? It doesn't make sense. You know?